Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another one of my end of the year videos. And it is going to be my top 10 favorite movies of 2021. There are a few things to keep in mind while going through this video. The first is that, I can't believe I have to remind some people of this, but film is subjective. That means that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Which means things that I love, you might hate, and things that you love, I might hate. But they're all just opinions, and there is no right or wrong opinion. Even if you disagree or agree with the general consensus, it doesn't make you, me, or anyone else right or wrong. The next is that I haven't seen everything that released this year. Some of it didn't really interest me, some of it didn't come to my theater or streaming services in Canada, so there are plenty of things that you will see on other people's lists that you might not see on my list because I plain and simply just haven't seen it. And the last point that I wanted to make before getting into the video itself is just to draw attention to the title once again. This is my top 10 favorite movies of 2021, not the top 10 best. I decided to go with my favorites this year because I've just been seeing way too much slander on other people's best lists because they aren't the best to everyone. Now these may not be the best movies that released this year, but these are the ones that I enjoyed the most, and I guarantee I'll be watching time and time again as time goes on. And so with all that being said, let's hop right into things. I do have a couple of honorable mentions that I want to draw attention to first. The first being Marvel Studios' Eternals, and the second, third, and fourth are the Fear Street trilogy. Number 10, Nobody. Look, I honestly didn't know if this movie was going to work or not. It kind of just seemed like a far more comedic John Wick or Equalizer knockoff. Pretty much the same premise. It's a well-known actor who has gotten a bit older. He plays a retired hitman forced back into the business. Except this time around, it's Saul Goodman. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk. But wow, this movie pulled the rug right out from under me because it kicks all sorts of ass. Bob Odenkirk surprised the hell out of me, and he absolutely shines in this role. His comedic timing is great, it looks like it's him for a lot of the stunts and fight sequences. And yes, it does take itself less seriously than those other franchises that I've mentioned, but that's part of what makes the movie so great and endlessly rewatchable. It's a lot of fun, and as far as I know, there is a sequel coming, and well, sign me up. Number 9, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This is one of the main characters in the MCU that I'm really surprised we didn't have sooner. However, we have him now, and I couldn't be happier. Simu Liu is marvelous in the titular role, and I really don't think they could have casted anyone better. The dude just oozes charisma, his martial arts skills are real and genuine, and the dude just really pulls it off in the more emotional moments, in the more serious moments, and in the more fun and lighthearted moments. Tony Leung is an absolute badass, and the Mandarin that we always deserved. The martial arts in this movie, the wire work, even the vast majority of the visual effects are all great, and the story is well told. However, I didn't really care all that much for the final fight with the whole dweller in the dark, angry, evil dragon thing. Not all of the comedy really landed for me. Some characters overstay their welcome, and some characters aren't used anywhere near enough. Number 8, The Mitchells vs. the Machines. This one came way out of left field. An animated movie that was either pulled from its theater release schedule and bought by Netflix, or just a Netflix original animated movie, I can't really remember, that had a name change and very little advertising. I wasn't even going to bother watching this movie. That's just how under the radar it was flying. But boy, oh boy, am I so glad I decided to check this one out. It's got some incredibly unique visuals, a brilliant voice cast, well-executed comedy, creative storytelling, and wonderful messages about family and growing up. I cannot emphasize this enough, this one is a must-watch for your next family movie night. Number 7, Free Guy. Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are to have this one up so high, but I was blown away by just how good of a time I had with this one at the theater. I wasn't even going to go see it in theaters originally. I was going to wait till it came onto some streaming service. But on the first Tuesday, which is the cheap day for my local theater, I decided to convince my girlfriend to go with me to an earlier show with almost no one in the theater at all, and I absolutely laughed my ass off. Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds as expected, and since I love Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds worked perfectly for me. I loved picking out all the little references, it had some surprisingly emotional moments, and it actually ended up having some real deep themes about artificial intelligence, love, and just plain old doing the right thing. And hey, don't have a good day, have a great one. Number 6. No Time to Die. The trailers looked great, but I can't lie, I was a little bit weary about this one after I found Spectre to be a bit of a letdown. Oh, but did this one get me. It has a 3-hour runtime, but I did not feel it at all. I was locked in from beginning to end. This was the swan song that Daniel Craig deserved. They nailed the action, they nailed the humor, the story felt big and epic. I really dug every aspect of this movie, and it was by far the best way that they could have ended Daniel Craig's 5th and final round as 007. Number 5. The Suicide Squad. I knew right out of the gate to expect great things from this movie. It was directed by James Gunn, and they officially confirmed that yes, it was going to be R-rated and that this dude was going to have complete creative control. But in no way, shape, or form did I expect it to be this great. All of the characters were so well casted, and the actors all did superb jobs. There really is no individual standout. They all get their time to shine, are endlessly hilarious, and kick all sorts of ass. The action goes big, brutal, and undeniably bloody. The humor landed with me every single time, and it was surprisingly emotional at certain points, and it really got to me. This movie truly exceeded my every expectation. Number 4. Last Night in Soho. Edgar Wright just doesn't miss, and this movie is further proof of that. I just knew heading into the theater opening night that I was going to dig this movie, but I really did not expect to dig it quite this much. I loved everything about it. It is a trippy, psychedelic, sci-fi, time-traveling, murder, mystery, horror thriller. It's got a genuinely unique visual style, a cast of colorful characters who are all quirky and marvelous in their own ways, a great bumpin' soundtrack, and non-stop twists and turns to always keep you guessing. Number 3. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Years. We spent years asking for this, campaigning for it, just outright begging for it. And we finally got it, and did it deliver on every single possible front. A bigger and better story, a far superior set of villains to what we got in the 2017 version. Every hero gets an appropriate amount of spotlight. There are some genuinely heartfelt and emotional moments packed in here. The action is explosive and epic. It's just 4 hours of pure joy and payoff. The only sad part is that it ends off on a major cliffhanger that I just know will never truly be resolved. Number 2. Dune. This one was at my number 1 for a while, and honestly, it still could be, because I am completely head over heels in love with it. From the art style, to the visuals, to the performances, to the score, to the grand storytelling and world building, I love all of it. My only gripe that I had when I first watched it is that I found the first little while to be a tad too slow. But on rewatch, knowing where the story goes and what points they were using for build-up, I didn't feel that way at all, and instead bumped my score up even higher. Bring on part 2. And number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. It was unbelievably close between these top 2. Actually, really these top 3. They're all essentially 10 out of 10s for me, and I know I'm going to rewatch them endlessly as time goes on. But Spider-Man just hit all the right points for me, and there was just no way that I couldn't give it the number 1 spot. I really genuinely just could not stop thinking about this movie. Hell, I still can't stop thinking about this movie. I mean, they actually did it. The Spider-Man from my childhood, the Spider-Man from my teen years, and the modern day Spider-Man all together on screen at once with all of these villains from previous movies in a big, giant, crazy-ass multiverse story. It's got some triumphant, emotionally high highs, but also some devastating lows that really do cut you deep and tug on the heartstrings harder than I expected. Like I said, some exceptional villains, some I think were a bit wasted, but tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Hard-hitting action, tons of fan service, and it ends off by expanding the universe and setting up Peter's next major arc. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my top 10. And while you're at it, feel free to let me know what your top 10 favorite movies of 2021 were. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.